The baby's cry cut through the dust-heavy air, high and thin, like it knew what was coming. People shifted on the benches, boots scraping wood, eyes fixed forward. A heavy table stood at the front, papers stacked, the sheriff leaning back in his chair like he owned the world. The girl stood there barefoot, belly round, baby clutched against her chest. She looked too young to carry both child and shame, but the crowd didn't flinch. Some men smirked, some women whispered. "Let's get on with it," a man shouted. The auctioneer cleared his throat. "We start with the girl and the child, property of no one. Offered as they stand." Her lips pressed tight. She rocked the baby once, then stilled. 50, someone called. 75. 100. The bids came sharp, like spit hitting dirt. "She worth more without the brat," one man muttered loud enough for others to laugh. The baby whimpered. The girl whispered back, "Hush, just hush." The sheriff leaned forward. "Keep it clean," he said, but his smile showed he didn't mean it. 120. A voice rose. 150. The girl's knees shook. "Please," she said under her breath. "What was that?" A man sneered from the front. "Speak up, sweetheart." She shook her head. The auctioneer's voice grew rougher. 170. "Do I hear two?" 200. Laughter rolled through the benches. 210. 230. The girl swayed, pressing the baby tighter. She closed her eyes. A man near the back called out, "Don't see why we pay it all. Sheriff ought to hand her over free." The sheriff's jaw tensed, but he didn't answer. The girl whispered to the baby again, words only half heard. "Not yours. Not theirs." The room grew louder. Men shouted numbers over each other, voices clashing, the air thick with sweat and dust. 300. 320. The auctioneer's face flushed red. His gavel struck the table once. "Keep order, keep order." From the corner of the room, a chair scraped. Boots hit the floor, slow, steady. A man stood. The girl opened her eyes. He was tall, shoulders bent from work, hat low, face half in shadow. His coat looked worn, dust ground deep into it. He didn't raise his hand, didn't call a number. The auctioneer frowned. "You got a bid, stranger?" The man's voice came quiet. "No money." The crowd snorted. "Then sit down," the sheriff said. The man stayed standing. He looked at the girl, then at the baby, then back to the table. His words came low but clear. "I'll give my name." Silence hit hard. The auctioneer blinked. "Your name?" "That's right." Laughter broke again, but weaker this time. The sheriff leaned forward. "You saying you'll marry her?" The man nodded once. The girl's breath caught. The sheriff spat tobacco into a tin. "That ain't how this works." The man said nothing, just kept standing, eyes fixed steady. The auctioneer looked between them, sweat on his brow. He tapped the gavel against his palm. "A name's worth less than $1. The man spoke again. "Name's worth more than every dollar in this room." The words landed heavy. The crowd quieted. The girl swallowed hard. "Why?" she asked. He turned his head to her. Finally, his eyes were tired, hollowed out by years, but steady. "Because it ends here." The sheriff stood, chair legs scraping back. "This ain't law." The man's gaze shifted to him. "Law's yours to bend, but she's mine to keep." The sheriff's hand twitched near his belt. "You better think real careful." The man didn't move, didn't flinch. The baby cried again, louder now, as if filling the silence for him. The auctioneer's hand shook. He raised the gavel high. "Well, we got ourselves a claim. By name. Any man here dispute?" Voices muttered, but no one called out. The sheriff glared, eyes sharp as broken glass. Then he sat back slow, chewing on his silence. The gavel came down hard. The girl staggered at the sound. The baby wailed. The man lowered his head like he'd taken a blow himself. "It's done," the auctioneer muttered. People began to rise, muttering, boots thudding against the wood floor. The girl looked at the man. "Don't even know you." "You don't have to," he said. "You think I wanted this?" "No." "Then why—" He cut her off, voice flat. "Better my name than their hands." The sheriff stood again, towering over them both. His eyes lingered on the girl, then slid to the baby. "We'll see how long it holds," he said. His words dripped with promise. The girl shivered. The man placed his hat back on his head. "Come," he said. She hesitated, arms tightening around the baby. "I don't even know where." "Doesn't matter." The sheriff watched as they stepped toward the door. His badge glinted in the lamplight. He smiled thin and mean. "A name won't save you forever." The man didn't answer. The girl followed, her steps uneven, her breaths quick. The baby whimpered against her chest, as if it too carried the weight of silence. The door creaked open. Cool night air swept in, carrying dust and the faint smell of rain. They stepped out together, strangers bound not by choice, but by a gavel's fall. Behind them, the sheriff's voice carried low, almost like a prayer. "We'll see how long before silence breaks." The girl's heart thudded. The man walked on without looking back. The baby cried once more, thin and sharp, cutting the night clean open. The street was near empty when they stepped out, but the echoes of the auction still clung to her ears. Every laugh, every number called, every cruel whisper. The baby whimpered, rooting against her shoulder. She pulled the blanket tighter, afraid the night might snatch him too. The man walked ahead, boots steady, hat pulled low. He didn't look back to see if she followed. She quickened her steps. "You didn't ask me." He said nothing. "You didn't give me a choice." Still nothing. His silence pressed harder than words. "You could have let them take me," she snapped. He slowed just enough to answer. "Didn't want to." "Why?" He didn't stop. "Because I could." Her jaw clenched. "That's not an answer. It's the only one I got." The road stretched long, dirt cutting through dark fields. A stray dog barked somewhere far off. She shifted the baby to her other arm, the weight heavy but familiar. "You don't even know my name," she said. "No." "You don't want to?" He finally glanced at her. His eyes were pale, worn like wood stripped raw. "Name don't change what's done." Her breath caught. "What's done? You think this is settled?" "It's settled." Her anger rose sharp. "You think saying some words in front of them means I belong to you now?" He stopped walking, turned, his face shadowed. "No, means they don't." The words landed, hard enough to silence her for a moment. The baby stirred, fussing. She rocked him gently, whispering, "Shh, little one." The man started walking again. She followed, though her legs ached. "You live far?" she asked. "Few miles." "On foot?" "On foot," she muttered under her breath. "Could have told me before." He caught it. "You wanted wagon. You should have picked one of them." "I didn't pick anyone." "Then quit talking like you had a choice." Her cheeks burned. "And you just wanted a servant? Someone to warm your empty house." He stopped again, shoulders stiff. For the first time, his voice sharpened. "I wanted no one. Don't twist it." Her breath hitched. "Then why me?" He looked at her, then at the baby, then away. "Because I know what it means to lose." The words unsettled her more than comforted. She pressed the baby close, his soft breath against her collarbone. The road narrowed, passing between tall fences. Cows shifted in the distance. Dark shapes moving slow in the moonlight. She whispered, almost to herself, "They'll come for us. They'll try. You can't fight them all. Don't need to." "You don't fear the sheriff?" "No." Her tone sharpened. "You should." He didn't answer. They walked in silence for a long stretch. The night hummed with insects, the smell of damp earth rising. Her feet hurt, the baby heavy, but she didn't complain. Finally she asked, softer, "What's your name then?" He hesitated. "Elias." She repeated it. "Elias." It felt strange on her tongue, rough but solid. "And mine?" she asked. He shook his head. "Ain't mine to ask." Her lips parted, surprised. "You don't want to know?" "You'll tell me when you mean it." She frowned. "Mean what?" "That you're staying." Her chest tightened. "You think I won't leave?" "Don't know." She almost laughed, bitter. "Where would I go?" He didn't reply. His silence gave her the answer. Nowhere. The baby whimpered again. She stopped walking, sat on a fence post, and rocked him until he settled. Elias waited a few paces ahead, not turning. "You lost someone," she said, voice low. He didn't move. "Didn't you?" After a long pause, he answered, "Yes." "Your wife?" He nodded once. She swallowed. "Child, too?" "Yes." Her throat closed. She looked down at her baby. "So, you think I replaced them?" "No." "Then what am I?" He faced her now, eyes steady. "You're alive." The words cut strange, like truth and lie tangled together. She stood again, baby in arms, and walked past him this time. Alive don't mean free. He followed. Alive's enough. Her anger surged, but she bit it back. The road turned, sloping upward toward a ridge. A lantern glowed faint in the distance. "That your place?" she asked. Yes. It looked small against the dark, a cabin with one light burning. The sight sent a chill through her. "Looks cold," she muttered. "It is." "Looks empty." It was. Her steps slowed. "What if I can't live there?" "You can. And if I won't?" "Then you go." Her chest tightened again. She almost wanted him to demand, to insist, to claim. Instead, his quiet left her uncertain. They reached the fence gate. He opened it, let her pass first. She hesitated. "You sure you want this?" she asked. His voice stayed even. "I didn't want it, but it's done." The words rang heavy. She crossed the gate, the baby's head resting on her shoulder, his breath soft and steady. The cabin loomed ahead, lantern glow flickering weak. Elias walked behind her now, his silence pressing close. She whispered to her child, barely sound at all. "We're not safe." The baby stirred, whimper fading into sleep. Elias caught her words, though she hadn't meant him to. "Safer than where you were." She didn't answer. They reached the porch. He pushed the door open. The smell of dust and wood rose out, thick and old. "Go on in," he said. She clutched the baby tighter. Her breath came shallow. "Feels like walking into another grave." His voice stayed low, rough. "Maybe it is." The baby whimpered once more, and the door creaked shut behind them. The air inside was stale, heavy with years that hadn't moved. The girl stepped through slow, holding the baby close. Dust coated the shelves. The floor creaked under her bare feet. A single lantern burned weak on the table, its light stretching shadows long. Elias shut the door behind them. The sound echoed too loud, like sealing something shut. She turned, taking in the space. A table set with 2 chairs. One chair pushed in neat, the other crooked, like someone had left fast and never returned. She touched the crooked chair. "Who sat here?" He didn't answer. She looked at him. Her? His eyes dropped. "Yes." The baby fussed. She shifted him, whispering, "Shh, little one, just hold on." She sat at the table, rocking gently. "You never moved it back?" "No." "Why?" Didn't see reason. Her jaw tightened. "You left it like a shrine." He didn't argue, just hung his coat on the wall, movements stiff, tired. She scanned the room. A shawl folded over the chair's back, a pair of shoes by the hearth, a small basket of sewing things, untouched. It all felt wrong, like the house itself refused to forget. She whispered, "You wanted me here, but she's still here too." "She's gone," he said. "Doesn't look gone." He picked up wood from the stack, set it in the stove. The silence stretched. The baby whimpered again. "You got milk?" she asked. "No." "Then I need water." He nodded toward the corner. "Bucket by the door." She stood, dipped a cloth, pressed it to the baby's lips. The child sucked weakly, small sounds filling the still room. She watched him carefully. He won't last on water. Elias didn't look at her. "I know." Her anger flared. "You know, but you bring me here anyway?" "I brought you here to live. This don't look like living." He slammed the stove door shut. The sound startled the baby. She rocked him again, glaring at Elias. "You're not saving us. You're burying us with her." He stared at the floor. His voice came low. "Better buried in silence than broken in their hands." Her throat tightened. "You call this mercy?" "It's what I got." The baby's cries filled the cabin, thin but steady. She pressed her cheek against his soft hair. Her voice trembled. "He deserves more than your silence." Elias sat across the table, his face shadowed by the lantern. "So did mine." The words struck her. She froze. "Yours?" He nodded once. Her stomach dropped. "Your wife. The child too." "Yes." "How?" "Birth took them." Her eyes burned. She looked at the shawl again, the shoes, the neat folded basket. It all made sense now. "So you keep this house like a coffin. And me and him. We're the ghosts now." His jaw clenched. "You think I asked for this?" "You stood up in front of them. You spoke. You chose it." "I chose against them." She shot back. "But not for me." The baby calmed, sucking his fingers. She laid him gently in her lap, eyes never leaving Elias. "You don't even want to look at him, do you?" He didn't. His gaze stayed locked on the table. She pressed. "He reminds you." "Yes." Her voice hardened. "Then why take us?" "Because I couldn't watch again." "Watch what?" He looked up finally, eyes raw. "A child handed off like cattle, a mother torn apart. I seen it before." "I won't again." Her breath came sharp. She wanted to hate him, wanted to fight him, but the baby stirred in her arms, grounding her. "You think silence saves?" she asked. "It keeps the walls standing." She shook her head. "No, it rots them." They sat across the table, lantern between them, shadows flickering across their faces. The baby whimpered again. She rocked him softly. "He needs milk," she repeated. "I'll see to it." "When?" "Tomorrow." She bit down her anger, swallowed it. "Tomorrow might be too late." His eyes narrowed. "You saying I don't care?" "I'm saying you don't see." The silence thickened again. The lantern hissed, flame low. She broke it. "What was his name? Your child?" Elias's shoulders stiffened. "Don't. I'm asking." He looked at her, voice gravel. "Samuel." She whispered it back. "Samuel." She looked at her baby. "His name's Thomas." Elias swallowed hard, nodding once like carrying the weight of both names. The baby's eyes closed, finally drifting to sleep. She laid him on the shawl, gentle, then faced Elias again. "You keep her things here, but what about him?" Elias's voice cracked. "Buried out back, stone by the oak." Her breath hitched. "And you want me to walk past it every day?" "You don't have to, but I will." "Because you won't let go." He didn't answer. His silence said enough. She leaned forward, eyes sharp. "You can't keep us in her shadow." He met her stare. "Then don't stay." Her voice rose. "You think I got somewhere else? You think I walk back to them, hand him over, and beg? That what you want?" His hand slammed the table. "I want him alive." The baby stirred but didn't wake. She flinched at the sound, then glared. "Then stop looking at us like graves." They froze, locked in silence. Finally, Elias pushed back his chair, stood. He walked to the corner, pulled a hammer and nails from a drawer. He picked up the old crib leaning against the wall, worn and broken. He set it down by the table. His voice came low. "I'll fix this. For him." She watched, breathing steady. "Why?" "Because I can't fix anything else." The hammer struck wood, sharp in the still cabin. Each hit echoed. She sat with the baby, staring at the broken man, piecing splinters back together. Her voice softened. "You think that makes you his father?" "No," he said without looking up. "Just makes me the one who tries." The words lingered, heavy, fragile. She rocked Thomas in her arms, eyes on Elias as he worked. For the first time, she didn't feel like a prisoner. She felt like a witness to his grief, to his silence, to the cracks forming where light might slip through. The lantern flickered lower. The hammering slowed. Outside, the wind moaned against the walls. She whispered to her child, "We'll see if he can hold us." Elias drove another nail, steady, as if holding himself together with every strike. The baby's cry woke her before dawn. She held him close, whispering soft, while Elias hammered nails into the crib by lantern light. His silence filled the cabin, broken only by wood striking wood. Then came the sound outside, hooves crunching gravel. A heavy knock rattled the door. Elias froze. Her chest tightened. "Who?" He held up a hand. "Quiet." Then he opened the door. The sheriff stood there, hat low, badge glinting in the gray morning. His smile carried no warmth. "Well, well, didn't think I'd find you home so soon." Elias said nothing. The sheriff stepped inside without waiting. His boots tracked mud across the floor. He glanced at the crib, the baby in her arms, the shawl on the chair. His grin widened. Domestic as a church supper. The girl shifted, clutching the baby tighter. "What do you want?" The sheriff tipped his hat. "Just checking on new arrangements. Folks in town are buzzing." Word spreads fast when a man buys with nothing but his name. Elias's jaw flexed. "It's done." "Done?" The sheriff chuckled. "Law don't work on feelings. Papers need signing. Witnesses. Deeds." "No papers," Elias said. The sheriff's eyes narrowed. "Then it ain't binding." Her breath caught. "You mean—" He cut her off. Means if I say it's void, it's void. And last I checked, I hold the law." She stood. "You can't take him." The sheriff looked her over, slow, like she was dirt under his boots. "That baby ain't yours to claim. Bastard child, mother unfit, man too stubborn. Tell me, what court sees that as holy?" Her voice shook, but didn't break. "He's mine." The sheriff leaned close. "For now." Elias stepped between them. His voice came low. "Leave." The sheriff smirked. "Always so few words. You think silence makes you strong? Makes you clean. I remember your wife's screams when the birth went wrong. Where was your silence then?" Elias's fists curled, but he didn't move. The girl gasped. "You were there?" The sheriff turned to her, almost pleased. "Course I was. Signed the death papers myself. Whole town knows. He couldn't save her. Couldn't save the boy, either." Elias's face hardened. The sheriff jabbed a finger at him. "And now he thinks marrying a stray fixes that hole in his gut? Pathetic." The girl's voice cut sharp. "Better him than you." The sheriff turned, his smile gone. "Careful, sweetheart." She didn't flinch. "You hide behind a badge. He hides behind silence. I know which one stinks worse." The sheriff's eyes burned. For a long second, the room held its breath. Then he laughed, low and mean. "You've got fire. Shame it won't keep you warm when he leaves you like he lost her." Elias's voice came rough. "Get out." The sheriff tilted his hat, stepping back toward the door. "This ain't finished. You owe me papers. Without them, she's nothing but trespass. I can take her any time." Elias moved closer. His silence pressed heavier than threats. The sheriff stopped in the doorway, eyes cold. "You think you can stare me down? I built this town. I carry the law in my pocket. You're just dirt that forgot how to stay quiet." Elias's voice dropped low, steady. "Try me." The sheriff's smirk returned, thin and sharp. "Oh, I will." He spat on the porch, then mounted his horse. "Don't get too comfortable." Hooves thundered away, fading into the hills. The girl's hands shook as she held the baby. "He'll come back." "Yes." "What will we do?" Elias closed the door, locked it. Wait for what? For him to drag us out? For him to slip?" Her voice rose. "You think silence will protect us? He owns the badge, the town, the law." Elias leaned against the wall, shadows cutting across his face. "Law don't mean truth." Her anger broke. "Truth won't matter when he takes my baby." The baby whimpered, sensing her panic. She hushed him, rocking, but her eyes never left Elias. "Why don't you fight? Why don't you speak like a man with something to lose?" His gaze locked on the floor. "Because when I spoke before, I lost everything." Her voice cracked. "So now I pay the price." "No," he said softly. "Now I carry it." The room fell silent, but for the baby's cries. She sat slowly, rocking, whispering to her child. Elias stood still, shadow heavy, his silence both shield and weight. Finally she said, quiet but fierce, "If you won't fight with words, then I will." Elias looked at her, something shifting in his eyes, but he said nothing. The lantern flickered. The baby slept. Outside, the sheriff's threat still hung in the air, heavy as storm clouds. She whispered to herself, not to him. "He won't take us. Not while I can speak." Elias turned back to the crib, hammer still resting on the wood. He lifted it, struck a nail, each blow echoing like defiance. The girl rocked the baby, watching him. "Then we'll fight in our own ways. You with silence, me with voice. Maybe together it's enough." He didn't answer, but for the first time his silence didn't feel empty. The night burned long after the sheriff rode off. His words still hung in the air, sour and heavy. The girl sat at the table, rocking the baby slow, whispering nonsense just to fill the silence. Elias worked at the crib, hammer steady, wood groaning with each strike. The lantern flickered, shadows crawling over the walls. She broke first. "You think a crib makes this safe?" Elias kept hammering. She pressed harder. "You think wood and nails stop a badge?" "No." "Then why do it?" He drove another nail hard. "Because I can." Her laugh was bitter. "That all you ever say?" He didn't look up. "It's all I got." She rose, the baby clutched tight. "He needs more than silence and scraps. He needs a father." His hammer stilled. "And you think I can be that?" "You're standing here, aren't you?" He shook his head. "Standing don't make me worthy." Her anger cracked into exhaustion. She lowered her voice. Then why keep trying? Elias set the hammer down. He ran a hand over the splintered wood. Because when I stop, I see their faces. Hers. His. The girl stared, heart pounding. So you fixed this crib like penance? Yes. And us? His jaw tightened. Not penance. Chance. She sank back into the chair, baby quieting against her chest. Chance for who? Elias finally met her eyes. For you. For him. Her throat closed. You don't even know us. I don't need to. The silence stretched. The baby stirred, small fists brushing her chin. She rocked him gently, eyes never leaving Elias. Show me, she said. He frowned. What? Show me you mean it. Put him down yourself. Elias's hands trembled. I can't. You can. She stood, crossing the room, baby bundled close. She held him out. Her voice low but fierce. Take him. Elias stepped back. No. You afraid? His eyes darkened. Yes. She pushed harder. Afraid of him? He's just a child. Afraid of me. Her voice broke. You think you'll kill him like you lost yours? His chest heaved. I know what death feels like in my arms. I can't hold it again. Her anger snapped. He's not death, Elias. He's life. And if you keep running, you'll bury him before they ever touch him. The words cut. He froze, breath shallow. Slowly, his hands reached forward, shaking. She placed the baby in them, firm, refusing to let him retreat. Elias held the child like glass. Thomas whimpered once, then nestled into his chest. Elias's whole body stiffened, eyes wide with something raw, almost terror. She whispered, breathe. He did. The baby's small weight pressed against scars silence couldn't hide. His shoulders sagged, his hands steadied. She watched, eyes wet. See? He doesn't break you. Elias looked down at the boy, his voice cracking. Feels like he heals and hurts the same breath. That's what living is. The baby sighed, drifting toward sleep. Elias's jaw worked, his silence carrying more than words could. Finally, he laid Thomas into the crib, hands lingering on the rough wood. The girl stepped closer. There, you're his father now. He shook his head. No, just the man who tries. She studied him. Sometimes that's enough. The lantern hissed. Wind moaned against the cabin walls. The crib creaked softly as Thomas shifted in sleep. Elias sat, rubbing his hands hard, as if the baby's warmth still burned him. He won't stay safe. Sheriff won't let it. Her voice hardened. Then we fight. You with words. Yes. Me with silence. Yes. His eyes lifted to hers. And if it's not enough, she didn't blink. Then we die standing, not begging. Elias leaned back, shadows cutting his face. You're stronger than you look. She bit back a bitter smile. Had to be. Who hurt you before all this? Her throat tightened. Does it matter? Yes. She looked at the crib. Not him. Men with money, men with land, men who think women are cattle. Elias's hands curled. Auction wasn't your first. Her voice dropped. No. He breathed slow, like swallowing anger whole. Then you know them better than I do. I know their smell, she whispered. Greed, whiskey, smoke, same stink every time. Elias nodded once. Then teach me. She looked at him, surprised. Teach you? How to fight with words. Her chest rose sharp. You'd listen. I'd try. She studied him, lantern light flickering in his eyes. For the first time, she saw not just grief, but will. Then maybe we got a chance. The crib rocked faint as Thomas stirred. Both turned toward him, watching the small chest rise and fall. Elias's voice came low. If he lives, it's because of you. Her voice cracked. If he lives, it's because of both of us. He shook his head. I only build wood. She touched the crib rail, fingers brushing near his. And I only speak words. Alone, neither's enough. Together, maybe it is. Their hands lingered near each other, not touching. The baby's breath filled the space between them. The girl whispered, He's all that matters. Yes. Then swear it. Swear you won't let silence bury him. Elias closed his eyes, pain flashing across his face. Then he spoke, voice firm. I swear. The words hung heavy, solid as stone. The lantern burned low. The baby slept. For the first time, the cabin didn't feel like a tomb. It felt like a place waiting for life to take root. She sank into the chair, exhausted, but steadied. Elias sat across, hands raw, eyes on the crib. Their silence held different weight now, not as prison, but as pact. The girl whispered one last thought, half to herself. Maybe this house remembers love after all. Elias didn't answer, but he didn't need to. The night turned colder. Wind pressed against the cabin, rattling the shutters. The baby slept in the repaired crib, breath soft, fists curled. She sat nearby, eyes heavy, yet unable to rest. Elias leaned against the wall, arms crossed, gaze fixed on the floorboards. Her eyes wandered to the hallway, dark and narrow. At the far end stood the door he never touched. Its frame was lined with dust, its handle dull from years of neglect. She whispered, barely sound. "What's behind it?" Elias didn't move. She tried again, louder. "That door." "What's in there?" "Nothing." "Then why keep it locked?" His jaw tightened. "Because nothing's better left shut." Her throat tightened. It was hers, wasn't it? Yes. The word dropped heavy. She stood, walked a few steps toward it. Elias pushed off the wall. "Don't." She froze. "Why not?" His voice sharpened. "Because it ain't yours." Her anger rose. "Neither's this house, yet here I am." He stepped closer. "I let you in here, not there." She glared. "What are you hiding?" His silence cut deeper than answers. She pressed harder. "You keep her shawl, her chair, her shoes. You keep this house like a coffin. But that door, you guard it like it's the grave itself." Elias's voice came rough. "It is." Her chest ached. "Then let it be seen." "No." Her fists clenched. "You don't trust me." His eyes lifted, shadowed, raw. "I don't trust myself." The words rattled her more than anger would have. The baby stirred in the crib, whimpering. She went to him, rocking gently, whispering. Elias stood in the hall, still watching the door, still guarding. She whispered to the baby. "Secrets rot faster than corpses." Elias heard. His shoulders stiffened. She laid the child back down, then turned. "If I'm to stay, I need truth." "You already got it." "No." "I got silence. And silence isn't truth. It's fear." His chest heaved. For the first time, his voice cracked. "You think I don't see her in you. Every step you take in this house, every cry of that child, she's here again. I can't open that door because if I do, I lose what little I hold together." Her voice softened, but her words stayed sharp. "And if you don't, you'll lose us." The room fell still. The baby's breathing steadied, the only sound. Finally, Elias turned away from the door. He picked up his hammer, set it on the table, and sank into the chair. His face was buried in shadow. She lingered in the hallway, torn between pressing and retreating. She whispered almost to herself, "A locked room don't keep ghosts out. It keeps the living trapped." Elias didn't answer. She sat across from him. "When they come back, and they will, I can't fight for us if I don't know what breaks you." He rubbed his hands over his face, voice low. "Not tonight." Her anger dulled into exhaustion. "Then when?" He didn't look up. "When the house makes me." She studied him, confused. "The house?" He nodded slowly. "Walls, remember. Floors, too. You'll see." His words chilled her more than the wind outside. She rose, wrapped the baby's blanket tighter, and sat by the crib. Her eyes stayed on Elias, who stared into the lantern flame like it was the only thing keeping him whole. The night dragged heavy. Shadows shifted across the walls. Every creak in the boards sounded like a whisper, every gust of wind like a voice. She closed her eyes, holding the baby close, but her thoughts stayed fixed on the locked door at the end of the hall. Somewhere deep inside, she knew it wasn't just wood and memory behind it. It was something waiting. Morning light barely touched the cabin when the knock came, sharp, repeated. Elias stiffened where he sat by the stove. The girl clutched the baby close, heart quick. Elias rose, opened the door. The pastor stood tall on the porch, coat black, collar white, eyes like nails hammered deep. He smiled, but it didn't reach his face. "Brother Elias heard the news." Elias said nothing. The pastor's gaze shifted to her. And this must be the bride. She stayed seated, baby against her chest. If that's what they call me. The pastor stepped inside without asking. He looked around, nodding as though judging every crack in the walls. Marriage is a holy bond. Done proper, it cleanses shame. Done in haste, it breeds it. Elias leaned against the door frame, arms crossed, silent. The pastor walked toward the crib, peered down at the sleeping baby. This child needs blessing. Her voice cut sharp. This child needs milk and peace, not words over his head. The pastor turned, eyes narrowing. Careful, daughter. Defiance is a sin of pride. She stood now, steady. Then let me burn with it. Elias's eyes flicked toward her, almost startled. The pastor forced a smile. Marriage papers, witness signatures. I came to see they're in order. Elias spoke at last, voice low. Ain't none. The pastor's smile faltered. Then you've taken her outside the law. Elias didn't blink. Law's yours. Mine's here. The pastor's tone sharpened. Without paper. She belongs to no man, which means the sheriff may claim her. And the child. The girl's stomach twisted, but she kept her voice strong. I belong to no sheriff. No paper decides that. The pastor looked her over, cold and steady. Spoken like a serpent in Eden. Women who talk too much bring ruin. Elias shifted. Enough. The pastor turned to him, eyes hard. You think silence shields you? It damns you. This woman, this child, without church, without law, they're a curse on your land. Her voice rose. The only curse here is men who call power holy. The pastor's face darkened. Ungrateful wretch. He saved you from the dirt. And you spit on the gift. Her anger cracked like fire. He didn't buy me. He kept you from owning me. There's a difference. The pastor sneered. You think this man righteous? He failed his wife. He failed his child. He'll fail you. Elias's fists clenched, but he stayed still. She stepped closer to the pastor. Maybe he will, but at least he's not you. For a long moment, silence swallowed the room. The baby stirred in the crib, small sound breaking the tension. The pastor adjusted his collar, voice low, seething. I'll give you time. Bring her before the church. Sign what needs signing. Or I'll call this union a lie. Elias's voice cut through, calm but sharp. Do what you will. My house stands. The pastor's eyes narrowed. For now. He turned, boots heavy on the floorboards, and left without blessing. The door shut. The cabin breathed again. She sank back into the chair, clutching the baby. Her voice trembled but held. He hates me. Elias sat across from her. He hates what he can't own. Her eyes burned. He'll use scripture. He'll use law. And men will listen. Yes, she looked at him fierce. Then I'll speak louder. Elias's silence pressed like weight, but for the first time it didn't feel empty. It felt like space he was holding for her. The baby whimpered. She rocked him gently, whispering, We'll outlast them, won't we? Elias's gaze stayed on her, steady, unflinching. He didn't answer, but his eyes carried something like promise. The wind pushed against the windows. The pastor's shadow lingered in the room, heavy as the sheriff's badge. But the girl felt her own voice sharpen, ready to meet them both. Rain came sudden, hard as stone on the roof. The wind screamed through the cracks, shaking the shutters. The lantern light flickered against the cabin walls, shadows twisting like restless things. The baby cried in the crib. She lifted him, holding close, whispering, Hush, Thomas, just the storm. But her own voice shook. Elias paced slow across the floor, shoulders tight, eyes fixed on nothing. The thunder rolled, long and deep. She watched him. You're waiting for it. He stopped. For what? For the house to fall. He didn't answer. Her voice sharpened. Every silence of yours is louder than the thunder. What are you hiding, Elias? Nothing. She stepped closer, baby pressed to her chest. The locked door, the room. Her things. You keep ghosts alive, but you keep me blind. That's worse than the storm. He turned away. Leave it. No. I won't. The wind rattled the shutters like fists pounding. She raised her voice to match. You think silence makes you strong, but it's just fear dressed up. You can't bury truth forever. His shoulders tensed. His voice broke low. Truth killed them. Her breath caught. What truth? He spun, eyes raw, voice shaking like the walls. that I wasn't enough, that I held her hand, and still she bled out, that I heard my son cry once, only once before the silence took him, that I prayed, begged, screamed, and none of it mattered. The words crashed louder than thunder. She held Thomas tighter, her own tears rising. So you locked the door. You locked her away. Yes. And you left the house a coffin. Yes. She stepped closer. But now you filled it again. With me. With him. And you're still trying to bury us with her. He shook his head, breathing hard. You don't understand. Then make me. Lightning split the sky, flashing white through the cracks. Elias's face looked carved with grief, eyes hollow but burning. I see her in you, he whispered. Every glance, every cry of that child, it drags her back, and I can't carry it again. Her voice steadied, though her hands shook. Then carry me instead. Carry us, not her ghost. His breath stilled. She pressed harder. You think silence protects, but it's the storm itself. You live in it every day. Let it break, or it'll drown us all. The thunder boomed so hard the crib rattled. Thomas wailed. Elias's eyes flicked to him, pained, torn. She raised her voice above the storm. Look at him, Elias, look. He's not Samuel. He's Thomas, alive, breathing, needing you. Elias stared at the baby, hands shaking. Say it, she demanded. He whispered, voice cracking. Thomas. Again. Thomas. She stepped close, put the baby in his arms. Elias froze, the storm howling around them. Thomas wailed, fists flailing, until Elias pressed him against his chest. Slowly, the crying softened. The child breathed steady. Elias closed his eyes, shoulders shaking. Feels like a knife and a bomb all at once. That's life, she said softly. That's what you ran from. The storm pounded. Elias rocked the baby, clumsy but steady. If I open that door, she met his eyes. Then maybe the storm ends. For a long moment, only wind and rain answered. Then Elias walked to the hallway, baby in his arms. She followed, heart pounding. He stopped at the locked door. His hand trembled on the handle. She whispered, You're not alone this time. He nodded once. Slowly, he turned the key. The door creaked open. Dust swirled in the lantern light. The room was small, untouched, filled with the stillness of years. A quilt on the bed, clothes folded, a cradle in the corner, tiny and empty. Elias stepped inside, breath caught. Thomas whimpered in his arms. He bent, placed the baby gently in the old cradle. For a moment, time blurred. The past and the present, the dead and the living, Elias whispered, voice broken. I hear them both. She laid a hand on his arm. Then hear us louder. The storm outside raged, but inside the silence felt different. Not the silence of graves, but of something broken open. Elias sank to his knees beside the cradle. She stood close, baby sleeping, house breathing. The storm howled, but neither moved. For the first time, the locked room wasn't a grave. It was a place where memory and life stood side by side, fragile but real. Morning came gray after the storm. The cabin dripped with rainwater, roof groaning as it dried. The girl sat by the crib, Thomas warm against her chest. Elias sat near the window, silent, watching the road. His eyes had not left it since dawn. Hooves broke the quiet, heavy, deliberate. Her heart seized. He's back. Elias stood, jaw set. The sheriff rode up slow, horse wet from the storm. He dismounted, boots sinking into mud. Badge glinting sharp even in dull light. He didn't knock. He pushed the door open. Well, he said, voice slick. Storm washed out the road. Thought I'd see how you two weathered it. Elias said nothing. The sheriff's eyes slid to her, then the crib. Child still breathing. Shame. Might have been God's mercy to take him in the night. Her voice snapped. Don't you dare. The sheriff grinned, stepping closer. You speak bold for a girl bought on a gavel. Her hands tightened around Thomas. I'm not bought. Not by you. Not by anyone. The sheriff turned to Elias. You still think silence makes you master here? Papers ain't signed. Church don't bless it. That woman and child are still mine to claim. Elias's voice came low. Try it. The sheriff smirked. I don't need to try. Law says they're abandoned stock, property, and I carry the law. She stood. You carry a badge, not law. He stepped toward her, face close. You think words save you. Words won't stand when the ground swallows you whole. Her eyes narrowed. Maybe it'll swallow you first. The sheriff chuckled dark. Careful, folks say this land's cursed. Say the well behind this cabin's bottomless, filled with more than water. Her stomach tightened. What do you mean? The sheriff's eyes gleamed. Ask Elias. He knows what that well holds. She turned to Elias. What's he talking about? Elias didn't move. The sheriff grinned wider. Ah. His silence speaks loud. That well has secrets buried deep. Secrets with names. Her chest burned. He lies. Do I? The sheriff leaned against the doorframe. Town whispers say Elias's wife didn't just die in childbirth. Say grief drove him to dig deep, deeper than soil. And the child. Maybe he rests down there too. She looked at Elias, searching his face. His silence crushed her. Tell me it isn't true. Elias's hands curled tight, but no words came. The sheriff sneered. See, even he won't deny it. A man who buries his own family won't hesitate to bury yours. Her voice shook, fierce. Get out. The sheriff laughed. Or what? Silence will stop me? Or your trembling voice? Elias stepped forward, eyes sharp, voice cutting through. Enough. The sheriff's grin faded. Finally found your tongue, Elias. Shame, it's wasted. Elias's voice dropped low, dangerous. Leave. Now. The sheriff held his stare, then spat on the floor. I'll be back, and when I come, no silence. No words will save you. He left, boots heavy, horse-kicking mud as he rode off. The door shut. The girl turned to Elias, breath ragged. The well. Tell me. Elias stood still, face shadowed. Say something, she begged. He closed his eyes. His voice cracked. I buried them there. Her breath caught. Your wife. Your child. Yes. Her knees weakened. She sank to the chair, Thomas fussing in her arms. Why? Why not mark their graves proper? His eyes burned. Because I couldn't face the stone, couldn't face the words carved there. Silence was easier. Her voice trembled with rage and grief. You think silence hides them? No. It traps them. And now it traps me. He looked at her, broken. I did what I knew. She shook her head, tears hot. You keep saying that, but knowing ain't enough. Not for me, not for him. The baby whimpered. She rocked him, whispering, Shh. You won't be buried in silence. I'll see to that. Elias's voice was rough. I swore I'd keep him alive. Then face it. Speak it, or the sheriff will use that well to bury us all. He flinched, but nodded once. They sat in silence, heavy with the storm's aftertaste, the sheriff's shadow still clinging to the room. The baby's cry filled the cabin, small but steady. She whispered, We'll dig truth out of the ground if we have to. Elias's jaw tightened. His silence no longer felt like shield, but burden. Outside, the well stood waiting. The night after the sheriff's visit stretched long, heavier than the storm before. She couldn't rest. Every creak in the cabin felt like the floor remembering. Every whisper of wind outside sounded like the sheriff's laugh. Elias sat by the stove, silent as stone, staring into embers. She rocked Thomas near the crib, whispering, Sleep, little one. But her eyes kept drifting down the hall, to the locked room. She waited until Elias dozed, his head sinking low, shoulders slumped. She set Thomas carefully in the crib, kissed his hair, and stepped into the hall. The key still hung by the door. She took it. Her hand shook as she slid it into the lock. The door groaned open. Dust swirled in lantern light. The room smelled of old wood and something sour, like grief turned stale. Her eyes searched the cradle, the quilt, the folded dress on the chair. She moved slow, careful not to wake memory too fast. On the desk sat a box, small, wooden, latch rusted. She opened it. Inside lay a stack of letters, edges yellowed. Her breath caught. The top envelope bore a name written sharp. Not Elias, the sheriff's. She pulled it free, unfolded it. The words leapt, shaky but clear. I cannot stay. My heart is torn. Forgive me. M. Her hands trembled. She whispered, No. She dug through the box, pulling letter after letter, each written in the same hand, each addressed to the sheriff. Words of longing, words of shame, words confessing what no grave had spoken. Her knees buckled. She sat on the bed, letters spilling across her lap. Elias's wife, writing the sheriff. She covered her mouth, fighting the sob rising. Thomas stirred in the other room, faint cry carrying down the hall. Elias's voice came behind her, low, heavy. "You shouldn't be here." She spun, letters clutched in her fists. "You knew." His face was shadow, eyes hollow. "Yes." Her voice cracked. She loved him. His silence answered louder than words. She threw the letters at him, papers scattering like broken wings. "You kept this. You locked it away like a shrine. You let me believe it was grief. But it was betrayal." Elias didn't move. She pressed harder, voice shaking. "She carried his child, didn't she?" He closed his eyes. "Yes." Her stomach dropped. "Samuel wasn't yours." "No." She staggered back, breath ragged. "And still you buried them here. Still you carried their names like chains." His jaw tightened. "Where else was I to put them?" Her voice burned. "Not in my bed. Not in this house. Not with me and my son under their shadow." The baby's cry grew sharper. She clutched the doorway, torn between leaving and fighting. "Why didn't you tell me?" Elias's voice cracked. "Because silence was easier than truth, and I thought if I kept it buried, it would stay dead." Her anger rose. "But it didn't. It rots this house. It rots you, and it will rot us if I let it." She turned to go. Elias caught her wrist, gentle but firm. "Don't." Her eyes blazed. "Let me go." He shook his head. "If you walk out, Sheriff wins." She pulled free, clutching Thomas from the crib. "Sheriff already won, long before me." Elias's voice dropped, broken. "Then why are you still here?" Her throat tightened. She held Thomas close, whispering against his hair. "Because I don't know where else to go." They stood in silence, grief and rage thick between them. The letters scattered at their feet like bones unearthed. Finally, Elias bent, gathering them with shaking hands. He shoved them back into the box, slammed the lid shut. His voice came low, bitter. "You wanted truth. That's it. She betrayed me. Sheriff took everything before he ever set foot on this land. And now he wants you too." Her eyes wet, voice trembling. "Then fight him. Not me. Not us." Elias looked at her, face etched with years of silence. "I don't know how." Her voice steadied, fierce. "Then learn, or he'll bury all three of us in that well." Thomas whimpered, small fists pressing her collar. She rocked him, heart pounding. "I won't let him live in shadows that aren't his." Elias stood still, box clutched like a wound. "What would you have me do?" She stared at him, voice sharp. "Burn them, every letter, every word, end her hold." His breath caught. "She was my wife." She wasn't, not really, not if every word she wrote was his. The silence crushed the room. Elias's eyes burned, torn between grief and fury. Finally, he walked to the stove, threw the box inside, and lit the flame. The letters curled, blackened, smoke rising. He stood over it, jaw tight, voice low. Then let her die twice. The fire consumed. She held Thomas tighter, tears hot, but steady. For the first time, the locked room no longer held ghosts. It held ashes. Elias sank into the chair, shoulders heavy, eyes on the flames. She sat across from him, rocking Thomas, heart torn but unbroken. Her voice came soft but sharp. "If you want us alive, Elias, you stop burying truth. You fight for it." His eyes lifted to hers. "With silence?" "No," she said. "With me." The fire hissed, flames devouring paper. Outside, the night pressed heavy, the sheriff's shadow waiting, but inside, something shifted. Not peace, not safety, but the first crack of war. The fire had burned the letters down to ash, but the smell still lingered in the cabin. She sat by the crib, rocking Thomas slow, whispering his name like a shield. Elias sat across from her, hands raw, eyes sunk deep. Neither spoke. The silence pressed heavy until hooves broke it. A rider came fast down the road, mud sprayed. The horse pulled hard at the reins before the gate. She froze. Elias rose, jaw clenched. "It's him." The auctioneer swung down from his horse, broad shoulders, slick smile, voice loud enough to fill the yard. "Afternoon, neighbors. Thought I'd pay a visit. Heard there's unfinished business." She held Thomas close, heart pounding. Elias opened the door, but didn't step aside. The auctioneer tipped his hat. "There she is, my lost prize. Shame about that gavel, should have been mine. Her voice cut sharp. I'm not anyone's. He laughed, low and mean. Sweetheart, that's where you're wrong. I called the bid fair. Sheriff cut me short. Man like me doesn't forget debt. Elias's voice came low. You've had your say. Leave. The auctioneer smirked. Still talking in whispers, Elias. Thought losing your wife would have taught you to speak up. Her stomach turned. Don't you speak of her. He grinned wider. Touchy. Wonder if she begged the way you will. Elias stepped forward, fists curled. The auctioneer spread his arms, mocking. Go on, rancher, take your swing. Whole town will say you broke law, while I just came to collect what's mine. Her anger rose sharp. I'm not a thing to collect. The auctioneer turned to her, eyes gleaming. Then say it plain. Who do you belong to? Him or me? She clutched Thomas tighter, voice steady. My son. That's who. The words cut. The auctioneer's smile faltered for the first time. Elias's silence thickened, pressing the air like a drawn gun. The auctioneer sneered. You think that bastard child gives you power. You're nothing without men to hold you. Her voice shot back. Then why are you here begging for what you can't own? He stiffened, face hardening. Careful, girl. Words can bleed worse than knives. Elias's voice cut through, low and sharp. Get off my land. The auctioneer laughed, but weaker now. Or what? You'll stare me to death. Silence don't scare me. Elias stepped closer. Then try me. The air went still. The auctioneer's grin twitched, but his eyes shifted. He looked at Elias, then at her. Then at the baby in her arms. His bravado cracked just enough to show. He spat in the dirt. This ain't over. Sheriff and I, we make law. You're just squatters on borrowed time. Her voice rose fierce. Then count the days, because we're still standing. The auctioneer scowled, swung back into his saddle. Sheriff will settle it, and when he does, you'll wish I'd taken you instead. He yanked the reins. The horse reared, then thundered back down the road. The silence after felt heavier than his words. She sank into the chair, clutching Thomas, breath shaking. They'll join together now. Elias nodded once. Yes. Her anger cracked into fear. What chance do we have? His eyes stayed on the empty road. Same as always. Stand. Hold. Her voice trembled. That won't be enough. He turned to her, steady. Then speak. Speak like you did today. Speak louder than them both. Her breath caught. You believe in my voice? I have to. She rocked Thomas, whispering his name again, letting it steady her. Elias stood by the door, silent as stone but no longer empty. His silence felt like a wall, strong, waiting for her words to strike beside it. The baby stirred, small cry filling the cabin. She looked at Elias. Then we fight together, you with silence, me with voice. He nodded. Together. The rain-soaked wind carried the echo of hooves, but inside, their resolve hardened. For the first time, she felt the cabin wasn't just a coffin. It was a battleground. The night carried no peace. Wind pressed low across the land, carrying smoke from far fields. The air sharp with warning. Elias worked in silence, stacking tools by the door. She sat by the crib, rocking Thomas, her eyes darting to every flicker of shadow outside. Then came the smell, acrid, heavy. Not the stove, not the lantern. Different. She rose fast. Elias. He smelled it too. He was already at the window. His voice came low, grim. Barn. She ran to the door, clutching Thomas. Through the night, flames clawed high. The barn blazed, fire leaping like it wanted to swallow the sky. Her breath caught. They did this. Elias's jaw hardened. Sheriff, auctioneer. The baby wailed at the sight of fire. She held him close, whispering fast. Shh, Thomas, shh. Elias grabbed a bucket, dashed outside. His figure moved against the blaze, small against the fire's roar. She shouted, You can't fight it alone. He didn't answer. He filled the bucket, hurled it, ran again. The flames only grew. The barn's timbers cracked, falling. Sparks shot into the sky, drifting toward the cabin roof. She panicked, clutching Thomas tighter. Elias! He turned, eyes sharp. Inside. Keep him safe. I won't hide, she yelled. The fire's heat pressed close. She ran outside, blanket over the baby, standing near him. You'll burn before you stop it. Elias's face glistened with sweat, soot streaking his jaw. Then let it burn. Her heart seized. What? His eyes didn't leave the flames. Better the barn than him. The baby whimpered. She realized. He meant Samuel, the ghost of the first child. Her voice cracked. This isn't the same, Elias. We still live. Fight for that. He froze, breath ragged, then turned back to the bucket. She grabbed his arm, fierce. Not like this. Not with silence. The barn gave a final groan and collapsed inward, sparks erupting. Fire poured upward, lighting the land bright as day. The cabin's roof caught sparks. Smoke curled. She screamed. The house! Elias dropped the bucket, ran to the porch, grabbed the pump handle. Water splashed fast as he doused the shingles. She ran inside, clutching Thomas, grabbing cloths to wet and cover gaps. Smoke seeped in through cracks. She coughed, rocking Thomas, eyes stinging. Stay with me, baby, stay. Elias stormed in, water sloshing, face black with soot. Roof's holding. She coughed harder. For how long? He poured water across the doorframe, sealing what he could. His silence pressed hard, but his hands moved fast, steady. She shouted over the roar, They'll come again. Fire's just the start. He looked at her, eyes sharp in the glow. Then we stand ready. Her anger burned hotter than the flames. Ready? With what? Buckets and silence? He said nothing. She shoved the wet cloth into his hands. Then let me speak. Let me fight the way I can. He stared at her, chest heaving. And if it kills you? She met his eyes, fierce. Then at least I don't die quiet. The flames hissed as rain started to fall, light at first, then harder. Steam rose from the barn's ruins, the storm breaking just enough to slow the fire's hunger. They stood at the doorway, watching the barn collapse into glowing embers. Smoke curled into the dark. She whispered, rocking Thomas, They'll call it justice. They'll say God struck us. Elias shook his head. No, this was man. Only man. Her chest tightened. Then we answer him. He looked at her silent, but something shifted in his eyes. She stepped closer. You can't fight this with hammers and nails. You need my words. My fire. Let me speak. Let me burn them instead. Thomas whimpered, small voice carrying in the smoky air. She hushed him, then looked at Elias again. Swear you'll let me. Elias's jaw worked. He nodded once. The rain fell heavier, washing the smoke, drenching the last sparks. The barn was gone. Nothing but ash and ruin. The land smelled of fire and wet earth. Inside, the crib creaked as she laid Thomas down. He stirred, but slept. She sank into the chair, eyes wet, throat raw. Elias stood by the window, watching the rain cut through the night. His silence didn't feel like surrender this time. It felt like waiting. Finally, she whispered into the room. They burned the barn. Next time, they'll come for the house. Elias answered, voice low, steady. Then let them. We'll be ready. She looked at him, fierce. No, not ready, standing, speaking, living. His eyes held hers. Together. The storm outside roared, but the fire inside the cabin was different now. Not destruction, defiance. The barn was gone, but they remained. The barn was ash by morning. Smoke still curled over the land like a veil. She wrapped Thomas in a shawl, tied him close against her chest. Elias stood by the door, hat low, eyes set toward the town. She asked, steady but sharp, You mean to face him? Yes. Her breath tightened. Then I go too. Elias looked at her, silence thick. She pushed harder. You swore we'd fight together. That means my words stand with your silence. He gave a slow nod. The walk into town was quiet, but heavy. People watched as they passed. Men leaned on posts. Women whispered. The auctioneer stood near the saloon, grinning when he saw them. Look here, 2 strays come to bark at the law. Her voice shot back. Better a stray than a thief. His grin faltered. They walked on. At the courthouse steps, the sheriff waited, badge gleaming in the morning sun. He looked down at them like a king on a throne. Well, the sheriff drawled, come to beg. Elias didn't answer. She stepped forward. Not beg. Speak. The crowd stirred, curious. The sheriff smirked. Go on then. Let the whole town hear your pretty words. Her voice rose, fierce but clear. This child is mine. No gavel, no badge. No preacher decides that. and no man owns me. Not him, not you, not anyone." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The sheriff laughed, low and sharp. "Hear that? Girl thinks words matter. Law don't bend to talk. Law bends to me." She pointed at him. "Then it ain't law. It's you playing God with paper and fear." The sheriff's smile thinned. "Careful." She stepped closer, Thomas stirring against her chest. "No. You be careful. Burn our barn. You think it ends us. But you forget. Fire lights the dark. Everyone sees you now." People shifted. Some looked down. Some looked at the sheriff, uneasy. The auctioneer barked, "Enough of this. Sheriff, drag her down." The sheriff raised a hand. "Quiet." His eyes locked on Elias. "And you, still hiding behind her skirts." Elias finally spoke, voice low but cutting. "Not hiding. Standing." The words struck like a hammer. The crowd went still. The sheriff's jaw tightened. "You think silence and stray words will break me?" Elias stepped forward, steady. "Not silence. Truth." The sheriff spat. "Truth don't matter." Her voice rose above him. "Then why do you fear it?" The question hung sharp. The sheriff's face darkened. Elias took another step. His silence pressed hard, like a weight the sheriff couldn't shake. The crowd leaned in, waiting. The sheriff barked, "Enough. This ends now. You and that brat." She cut him off, shouting, "Say his name." The sheriff froze. "Say it," she demanded. "If you think you own him, then call him proper." The sheriff's lips twisted, but no sound came. She shouted again, "Say it. Say Thomas." The sheriff's face reddened. His silence betrayed him. The crowd stirred again, whispers sharp, uneasy. She pressed harder. "You can't. Because he isn't yours. Because he never will be. Because he's more alive than the lies you hide behind that badge." The sheriff's hand twitched near his belt. The auctioneer barked, "Do it. Shut her up." Elias's voice thundered, sudden, breaking years of silence. "Touch her, and I'll put you in the ground." The words shook the steps, the crowd gasping. The sheriff froze. His hand slipped from his belt. The auctioneer sputtered, "You threatening the law?" Elias's eyes burned. "I'm ending the lie." The sheriff looked out at the people. For the first time, he saw doubt in their faces. Whispers spread, barn fire, gavels, stolen lives. Her voice came steady, final. "Your badge don't carry law, it carries shame. And this town knows it now." The sheriff's face cracked, anger boiling, but he saw the crowd. He saw their silence had turned from respect to suspicion. He stepped back. "This ain't over." Elias stared, steady. "It is." The sheriff turned, shoved past the auctioneer, and stormed inside the courthouse. The auctioneer cursed, spat in the dirt, and followed. The crowd lingered, whispering, shifting, but no one stopped them as Elias and the girl stood tall on the steps. She clutched Thomas close, heart pounding. Elias stood beside her. Silence no longer burden but shield. She whispered fierce, "We're not done, but we're not broken." Elias nodded once. Together they walked down the steps, past the murmuring crowd toward the road home. The reckoning had begun. The road home was quiet, but the weight of town followed them. Whispers clung like dust. She held Thomas close, listening to his breath, steady against her chest. Elias walked beside her, silent, hat low. For the first time, his silence didn't feel empty. It felt like a wall between them and the world. The cabin came into view, the barn now only ash. Smoke drifted faint in the breeze, a scar on the land. She stopped, staring at it. "It'll never grow back." Elias said, "No." Her voice cracked. "Then we build different." He looked at her, steady. "How?" She turned toward the crib inside, rocking gently as Thomas stirred. "With names, with truth, with something no fire can burn." Later, as dusk fell, she sat by the crib. Thomas's eyes blinked up at her, wide, trusting. She whispered, "You need more than what they gave you. Not bastard, not shame. A name that's yours alone." Elias stood in the doorway watching. She looked at him. "Help me choose." He froze. "That's yours to give." Her voice softened. "But he needs both of us." Elias stepped closer, slow, like approaching fire. He looked down at the baby, his jaw tight. "What do you call him now?" "Thomas." Elias nodded. "It fits. Strong, Quiet. She shook her head. But it isn't enough. Not with what they'll call him in town. He needs more. He needs to be more. Elias swallowed, eyes burning. Then give him mine. Her chest tightened. Yours. Yes. She searched his face. Even with the sheriff's shadow on it? His voice came low. Then let the name outlive the shadow. She looked down at the baby, tears welling. Thomas Elias, stronger than both of us. The baby cooed, small fists waving. She smiled through tears. Thomas Elias. That's who you are. Elias's shoulders sagged as if something heavy finally lifted. He whispered the name too. Thomas Elias. The crib creaked as the baby settled, the sound soft but steady. She turned to Elias. You gave him your name. Now give him your voice. Elias froze. She pressed harder. Not silence, not just stares. Speak for him. Speak for me. Or he'll grow up thinking silence is all a man can offer. Elias's throat worked, raw. I don't know how. She stepped closer, eyes fierce. Then learn, with me. The baby whimpered. She rocked him, whispering, You'll grow where we broke. Elias looked at them, face shadowed but steady. Then it begins here. The night grew quiet, the storm long gone. They sat by the fire, Thomas sleeping. After a long silence, she asked, You'll stay? Elias looked at her, eyes hollow but alive. If you'll have me. Her voice trembled. I didn't ask for this life, but I'll take it if it keeps him safe. He nodded once. Then I stay. The fire hissed. Ash drifted. The crib creaked softly as Thomas stirred in dreams. She whispered almost to herself, We were sold. We were broken. But now we're named. Elias's silence carried weight, but not fear. This time it felt like a vow. She laid Thomas in the crib, kissed his forehead. Then she turned to Elias, eyes steady. This house isn't a coffin anymore. It's his beginning. He sat across from her, shoulders heavy, voice rough. And yours. Her eyes burned, but she smiled faint. And mine. The wind outside eased. The land smelled of rain and ash, but inside, the air felt different, still heavy, still scarred, but alive. She whispered the name again, like a prayer. Thomas Elias. The baby breathed deep, untroubled. The silence between her and Elias didn't break. It held, not as prison, but as promise. For the first time, she believed they might endure.